Welcome to our next Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure. Today we're headed to the Missouri State Fairgrounds in Sedalia, Missouri. Normally, this bustling place is really busy in the month of August when the Missouri State Fair goes on. But we're going to take our tour today and take a look at some of the buildings in the springtime of the year to get a rich history of what the fairgrounds are all about and some of the historic buildings. There's more than 50 historic buildings here on the fairgrounds campus. As we head around the fairgrounds, one of the first buildings that we see are the cattle barns. These cattle barns were constructed between 1907 and 1926. This easternmost barn that we're seeing here houses the Jersey cattle and is considered to be the most decorated cattle barn, perhaps because it was the first cattle barn that was encountered by visitors to the fairgrounds. The westernmost barn is the Holstein barn, which was constructed in 1926 and was designed to fit between the Guernsey and Jersey barns and was a response to the growing dairy industry in Missouri. The building is a little bit simpler, but it blends in extremely well. In 1897, N.H. Gentry of Sedalia persuaded the Missouri Swine Breeders Association to request the Missouri General Assembly to establish a state fair. In 1899, a resolution for the fair was introduced by C.E. Clark. The state considered locating the fair in Centralia, Chillicothe, Marshall, Mexico, Moberly, and Sedalia, Missouri. Cities made offers on the amounts of land that they would commit to the fair. After 10 ballots, Sedalia received the majority of the vote. The Van Riper family, who had set aside land for the location of the Missouri State Capitol in Jefferson City, Missouri, also donated this site here in Sedalia. The first Missouri State Fair was held September 9th through the 13th in 1901. One of the most distinctive aspects of the early fairs was the White City, which was 24 acres of white tents that were rented out by exhibitors.
If you guys do miss any placings, they are all available on our Facebook page. They are updated in real time.
We're now walking past the Gherkin Dairy Center. This particular building showcases the dairy industry here in Missouri. Also during the state fair, you can see cattle being milked as well as fresh ice cream being made. Speaking of ice cream, Odessa ice cream was the official ice cream of the Missouri State Fair in the 1930s. The state fair was held during the First World War, but was canceled in 1943 and 1944 during the Second World War. U.S. Senator Harry S. Truman chose the Missouri State Fair as the place to formally launch his campaign for re-election to the Senate in 1940. In his speech at the fair, Truman strongly endorsed the New Deal program from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, including talking about equality for African Americans, something that was rarely talked about during that time. One of the largest buildings on the fairgrounds is the Coliseum, which was constructed in 1906. The Coliseum was originally called the Livestock Pavilion and has traditionally been used for showing and judging livestock and for horse shows. In addition, 4 presidents who had visited the fairgrounds have spoken here, including William Howard Taft, Harry S. Truman, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush. In 1910, the Women's Building was constructed. The Women's Building is in the Georgian Revival style that was popular for elegant homes during the early 20th century. The building originally had dormitory space on the second floor and a ballroom or assembly hall on the third floor. It also had a one-story wing at the rear which housed a day nursery. That wing was removed in 1965. The building was used as a place where women could rest and enjoy tea or coffee, as a display area for arts and crafts, and as a place for music concerts. The building has been used by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources since the 1980s, and the ground floor houses the Missouri State Fair Museum. On our left, you get a glimpse of the Missouri State Fairgrounds racetrack or Speedway. This is where a number of tractor pulls, demolition derbies, as well as concerts are performed during the Missouri State Fair and other times throughout the year. Constructed in 1927, the Historic Administration Building was named for Governor Sam A. Baker. This is a two-story building with buff-colored brick. Originally, the building included a cafeteria and sleeping rooms for department superintendents. It now houses the Missouri State Fair Foundation. The original administration was a square frame building with a two-story portico and balcony located next to the grandstand. Constructed in 1903, the commercial building is one of the three oldest buildings on the fairgrounds. Originally designed as the Palace of Agriculture, this building was labeled the Horticulture Building by 1906 and the Agriculture Building from 1915 to 1920. From 1908 through 1912, this building was also called the Liberal Arts Building. In the 1920s, it became the Education Building, displaying the work of Missouri schools. Ahead of us is the Varied Industries building. This is also one of the three oldest buildings constructed in 1903 here on the fairgrounds. It was originally called the Horticultural Building and was one of the most elaborate of the 1903 exhibition halls. During the early part of the 20th century, it was also called the Agricultural Building, and it became the Varied Industries Building after World War I. The rounded domes and parapets of the building give the building sort of a Moorish architectural look. The Agricultural Building was constructed in 1961 and was the first climate-controlled building on the fairgrounds. In 1929 and 1930, as part of the Works Projects Administration Program that was administered by Roosevelt's New Deal program, these two white buildings were completed. The building on your left was the Floriculture building. It was constructed in 1930 and was home to award-winning floral exhibits. In 1929, the Fine Arts Building was constructed. It was originally named the Floriculture and Arts Building and displayed floriculture on the ground floor and art and antiques on the second floor. We're now walking past the Poultry and Rabbit Building, parts of which were constructed in 1909 and again in 1920. The Poultry and Rabbit Building was originally used to display machinery. In order to allow for adequate ventilation, the original building had no roof but was covered with an awning during the fair. The building was named the Missouri Building in the 1920s, and a roof was added that was topped by a cross ventilation structure that was once accented with a dome. In the 1930s, it became the Poultry and Rabbit Building. The ventilation structure was removed in the 1960s. Built in 1905, today's 4-H building has served many purposes over the years. It was originally named the Poultry Building to serve the needs of the poultry department. In the 1930s, it was designated as the Missouri Building, housing the Missouri State exhibit from the Chicago Century of Progress Exposition. It has been the 4-H building since 1958, hosting demonstrations and projects by Missouri's 4-H youth. In 1909, the John Deere Plow Company built this building as a display area for farm implements and wagons. Simpler than some of the other exhibition buildings, it features large, closed space, 12 light flat arched windows. In the 1920s, the Missouri State Fair named the building for W.D. Smith, who was then the fair secretary. The building was used for dog shows during the 1920s. In the 1930s, it became the Home Economics Building, and the window openings were filled and open brick foundation was covered with wire mesh. Built in 1903 and is one of the 3 oldest buildings here at the State Fair, the Family Fun Center has served a variety of purposes and has had several names. Constructed in 1903 as the Poultry Building, it was redesignated as the Dairy Building 2 years later when a new, larger poultry building was erected. During the 1920s, it became the University Building. The Future Farmers of America used the building from 1955 to 2002, and the building housed various exhibits and free entertainment from 2002 to 2008. In 2008, it was designated as the Family Fun Center. The horse barns were constructed in 1904 after a fire destroyed the original barns in 1903.
Attention in the barns, I've got another vehicle blocking a trailer. I have a green Dodge Dually behind rows E and F in the horse barns. If you are blocking a trailer and you drive a green Dodge Dually, I need you to move it, please. We are on the reverse of our 14 to 18, so center under saddle side. Make it over. I should have 6 checked in. Saddle type, English Hunter Pleasure. I should have 5. I need you in the MFA. Ready to go? 29, English Equitation 13 and under. Please start heading this way.
I hope you've enjoyed this Wandering Walks of Wonder adventure here, going through the historic Missouri State Fairgrounds. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on our next Wandering Walks of Wonder. Take care now. Bye bye.